Mist drifted across the marshes outside Zirun like pale silk, coiling around the reed thickets and swallowing their moon-silvered tips. Mayun pressed through the damp grass anyway, balancing a cracked lantern in one hand and a lidded basket in the other. The night smelled of cool water and unseen blossoms. Somewhere in the dark, carp stirred, their fins brushing lily stems with the hush of turning pages. Grandmother had warned her not to come. Everyone in Zirun knew the legend. When the full midsummer moon rose highest, a jade carp might ascend the invisible cataract of moonlight, leap its impossible height, and vanish into the sky as a new guardian star. Anyone who tried to capture such a fish before its leap would be cursed with blindness, or worse. And yet, rumor said the jade carp's scales could cure fevers, mend fractured bones, even peel sorrow from a grieving heart. Mayun's mother lay on a pallet at home, her breaths shallow, her body wasting from a wasting illness the village physicians called hollow fire. Tinctures and prayers had failed. Only the carp's scales, the apothecary insisted, might save her. A willow's branches trailed across Mayun's shoulder, scattering droplets onto her shawl. She paused at the pond's edge. This was no ordinary pond. Legends called it the Sky Basin, fed by a clandestine spring and open overhead like a round mirror to the stars. Lilies floated, milky under moonlight. To the west, the stone ruins of an ancient observatory jutted through vines, once a tower where astrologers charted the skies, and listened, or so people said, for the splash of carp entering the heavens. Mayun lowered her lantern and knelt, uncorking a small clay jar of fermented crabapple. The fragrance wafted across the water. If the stories were right, Jade Carp loved spirits. Drunk on the scent, they rose to the surface. She waited, heartbeat loud in her ears. Shimmer rippled near the pond's center. A single scale, green as bottle glass, glimpsed, then gone beneath. Mayun's throat tightened. The apothecary had not lied. She set down her basket and produced a net of fine silk thread. Each knot had been dipped in river salt and dried over smoke to keep it from tangling. One cast, she told herself. One fish. One cure. When the moon reached its zenith, the carp would try to leap. She must take it beforehand. Grandmother's warnings drifted through her mind. Guardians are not to be caged. But they fluttered away like moths over flame when she imagined her mother's laboured breathing, a louder swirl. Water domed upward. Then she saw it. The fish was larger than any carp she had caught in daylight, almost the length of her forearm. Scales the colour of polished nephrite, eyes luminous as topaz. Fins edged with white glimmer. Mayun inhaled, feeling suddenly as though the night itself was holding its breath. She flung the net, silk spread, kissed the water, and sank. A startled thrash answered, tugging the line in her hands. She pulled, wrapping loops around her wrists, gloved in night-cold water. The carp fought in silence, only crescents of ripples revealing its path. Then it was on the bank, writhing in the net, green scales clinking like porcelain coins. Mayun reached for her basket. "Stop!" The word came from the darkness behind her, neither loud nor harsh, but filled with command. She turned. An old woman stood beneath the willow, wearing travelling robes the colour of river mud. A wide straw hat shadowed her face. She leaned on a crooked staff carved with unfamiliar constellations. "Who are you?" Mayun demanded, curling protectively around her prize. "A keeper of stories," the stranger said. "Stories older than your village, perhaps older than the marsh itself. That fish belongs to the sky. Release it." "It belongs to my mother now." Mayun's voice quavered. "She is dying. One scale ground in wine will save her life." The stranger stepped closer, revealing eyes like clouded amber. "What you steal from the heavens steal back twice over. Give me the jade carp, and I will show you another way." Mayun hesitated. The fish stopped flailing. Instead, it lay still, regarding her through the netting with a disturbingly human composure. The moonlight striking its scales felt brighter than the lantern flame. "I cannot," Mei Yun whispered. "Then watch what becomes of your wish." The stranger raised her staff. The net unraveled, threads falling apart as if cut by invisible shears. The Jade Carp slipped from Mei Yun's grasp and slid onto damp grass. It did not flop toward the water. Instead, it faced the old woman, tail sweeping slowly, and bowed. To Mei Yun's astonishment, the carpenter's ruined threads wove themselves into fine mist, spiraling upward in a lattice that reached the water's surface, then higher, forming the shape of a translucent waterfall that shimmered pale violet under the moon. She had not believed the legend's literal waterfall was real, but here it was. An aqueous ribbon pouring upward, though no source fed it, the current composed of moonlight itself. The Jade Carp leapt. Smooth as an arrow, it cut through the misty cascade, scales radiant. Halfway up, its body burst into sparks, as if both living creature and living flame. The sparks gathered into a small constellation between the claws of the great dragon overhead. New stars shone, trembling into permanence. Mei Yun stared, mouth dry. The waterfall collapsed, soaking the grass, then evaporated. The stranger said, "Is how guardians are born." "My mother," Mei Yun choked, tears hot against cold cheeks. "What now?" The stranger's gaze softened. "Attachments bind us all. Long ago I tried what you tried. In my grief I snared a guardian before its leap, seeking a cure for my child's fever. The heavens took my child and left me only years of wandering to repent. But they taught me as well. Healing obtained by theft spoils the flesh. Healing obtained by journey may transform more than illness. Come with me to the observatory ruins. We have until dawn." Mei Yun followed shakily, leaving her basket, net, and lantern. The rune's doorway yawned. Inside, mosaic tiles glittered. Maps of the night sky laid across the floor, chipped but recognizable. The stranger lit incense at the central brazier. Purple smoke coiled upward, then curved sideways into an invisible tunnel. "Step through," she instructed. Mei Yun obeyed, expecting stone. Instead, her foot struck water that bore her weight like glass. She stood on a river, reflecting so many stars that up and down reversed. The marsh disappeared. Only a boundless night remained, vaulted by constellations neither her teacher nor the village's astrologer had ever shown her. The stranger walked beside her. Their reflections glowed underfoot in double. "What is this place?" Mei Yun murmured. "The Midway," the stranger answered. "Where mortal need can speak to immortal law. Tonight the river runs because the moon's door is open. But tread carefully, your heart determines the current." They approached a terraced bank of silver sand, where 3 archways waited. Each archway held a different symbol at its keystone: a wren, a fox, a carp. The carp. Beneath each symbol, an offered path shimmered, a corridor of bone-white boulders for the wren, a trail of tangled roots for the fox, a slope of smooth jade tiles for the carp. "Choose," the stranger said. "The wren is the path of song. You will surrender your voice but gain power to soothe any sickness of spirit. The fox is the path of cunning. You will lose truth from your speech but gain ability to barter with fate. The carp is the path of sacrifice. You will offer what is dearest to you to save another." Mei Yun's palms grew damp. None of the choices suited her. Each demanded a price steep as grief itself. Must I walk any of them? A desire that reaches the heavens must pay heaven's price. Mei Yun swallowed. "I want my mother well, but I also want her to be herself. I want us to watch planting festivals again, dance at dragon boat races. If I choose the carp path, sacrifice, what would I lose?" The stranger's eyes glittered. "Your memory of her. She will live." You will stand beside her, but she will be, to you, a friendly Mayun's knees weakened. The wren path? My voice, is it merely speech? Your singing, laughter, the subtle hum that tells others you are near. And the fox path? Half-truths forever. You could bargain, yes, but each lie chips the soul. In the end, you won't know yourself from those bargains. Mayun stepped back, struggling for breath. The river underfoot rippled. Star reflections warped. What would you choose? She asked. I cannot answer. These are doors only you may open. Mayun thought of her mother's eyes, bright even while sick, and of stories told while weaving straw dolls. Those memories were threads in her own tapestry. Without them, she feared unraveling. She thought of losing her voice too. Songs shared at moon festivals, lullabies once hummed into her mother's hair. A life of silence felt like winter with no promise of spring. He compris like the window, no silence of spring. Then she considered the fox path. Cunning seduced, but she had seen liars grow hollow as sugar statues in rain. Tears gathered. There is no fair choice. None worth making ever is, the stranger said gently. Mayun closed her eyes. She listened. To distant nightbirds somewhere beyond this strange realm, to the river's glinting hush, and deepest, to the drumming inside her ribs. At last she spoke. Another legend says, the heavens reward honesty. So I will stand here on this river and admit I want my mother alive and my memories unbroken. I want my voice and my truth. I want what seems impossible. I plead without knowing what I can give in exchange, but I will not steal any more. Silence answered. The stranger merely watched. The archways shimmered, their corridors beckoning. Mayun knelt and placed her palms on the river surface. If there is any guardian listening, I beg your mercy. Take my remaining years instead if you must. Let my mother live healthy, and when her time ends naturally, let her remember me with joy. A wind rose. The archways flickered. The fox corridor withered into dust. The wren corridor folded inward like closing wings. Only the carp archway remained, yet its jade tiles turned clear, revealing swirling water beneath. From that water, the jade carp she had tried to net emerged, now the size of a small dragon, scales blazing emerald flame. Its whiskers trailed starlight. Seeker of mercy, the carp spoke, its voice a chord of many flutes. Your offer of years is accepted, but altered. Not years lost, but years shared. You and your mother shall both live halves of each other's unspent time. Thus you will age together, leave together, none left grieving alone. Mayun trembled. Will I still know her? All memories remain. However, your life length shall shorten. Does your heart consent? Mayun bowed her head. Yes. Light burst. The river fell away. The ruins returned, dawn's first hue at the horizon. Mayun lay on mosaic tiles, the stranger's cloak covering her. The old woman knelt nearby. You chose well, she said. My mother? Go home. Mayun stumbled outside. Birds called in awakening marsh. She ran past cattails and dew-laden reeds, through the village gate, onto her family's porch. She found her mother awake, sitting upright, cheeks flushed with healthy colour, intoning a soft song about apricot trees. Grandmother wept silently nearby. When her mother saw Mayun, she opened her arms. I dreamed you walked across night water, she whispered. You looked so brave. Mayun hugged her fiercely. In that embrace she felt two pulses, hers and her mother's beat in perfect rhythm. Days melted into weeks. Her mother regained strength. Tending gardens, repairing lacquer boxes, Mayun joined her. Yet sometimes, when her mother bent to tie a string or examine a blossom, silver threaded through her hair earlier than before, and Mayun noticed the same silver at her own temples. It did not frighten her. Their futures were woven together now, warp and weft. equal lengths. One evening, the village gathered for moon viewing. Lanterns bobbed. Children chased fireflies. Grandmother retold the story of the Jade Carp, how those who leap waterfalls of moonlight become constellation guardians. No one believed the fish were anything but myth, yet all looked up at the sky. Mei Yun followed their eyes. Near the great dragon's claws glowed new stars, subtle yet distinct, green-tinted pinpoints merrier than the others. She knew them, knew too the guardian who watched through them. She whispered gratitude, laying a hand over her chest where the carp's vow still shimmered unseen. At the festivities' close, the stranger from that fateful night appeared at the edge of the crowd. In village light, Mei Yun saw that she was not truly old. Time touched her face without claiming her. She inclined her head, then offered Mei Yun a small lacquered box. Inside lay the unfaded net of silk thread, mended. "A reminder," the stranger said. "Tools can be used for capture or for rescue. Only intention decides which." "What will become of you?" Mei Yun asked. "I walk law's path. There are always others seeking bargains with the sky. Perhaps you will be among the guides one day." The stranger disappeared into darkness that smelled of river mist. Mei Yun turned homeward, box in hand, mother's laughter floating from the courtyard. Above, constellations glimmered. She imagined guardians swimming through the black vastness, scales of jade, copper, pearl, ever leaping, ever flaring into watchful lights. Seasons ripened. Mei Yun studied herbalism, weaving, astronomy. She married, bore a daughter with curious eyes. When midsummer full moons rose, she led the child to Sky Basin, not with nets, but with offerings of woven lotus crowns to thank the guardian carp. Together they set the crowns adrift, watching them swirl in gentle eddies. On occasion, a ripple would take one crown and send it spinning upward along an invisible rise, and mother and daughter would smile, recognizing the faint glimmer of scales just beneath the moon's white skin. Years later, on an autumn afternoon, Mei Yun's mother sat beneath an apricot tree, whose leaves had turned sunrise gold. Mei Yun joined her, knees creaking. It seemed age had kept its promise, each of their bones weathering in tandem. They spoke of harvests, of grandchildren, of songs from long ago. Then her mother grew quiet, eyes reflecting clouds sliding across the sun. "I think," her mother murmured, "it is nearly time to sleep." Mei Yun clasped her hand. "Then I will sleep beside you when the moment comes." When twilight deepened, a hush filled the garden. Stars blinked on. The silver in both women's hair caught that light, and in it they saw, unspoken, permission to let go. With hands entwined, their breaths slowed together, one ending, the other pausing, then continuing. Softer, still alive, but carrying the rhythm of two. That night, Mei Yun dreamed of the river of stars again. She walked upon it alone until she came to the Jade Carp guardian waiting at water's center. It bowed, and she bowed back. "Our pact is complete," the carp said. "Your mother is safe within the Orchard Nebula, tending apricot constellations. Your path remains below until your years run gentle. Then you too may leap, not as carp, but as what truth fashions you to be." "What truth am I?" she asked. "Daughter, healer, storyteller," it answered. "Three lights braided, remember them." She woke at dawn. In her house all was quiet. She knew her mother's body had cooled in the night, though her face retained the smallest smile. Grief fluttered in Mei Yun's chest like a caged swallow. Yet beside it, a warm clarity pulsed. No one was gone, distance merely changed shapes. At dusk, she climbed the hill above Zirun. The village prepared the funeral pyre, incense drifting. Mei Yun looked skyward. New apricot-hued stars winked high above the great dragon's tail. She laid a palm on her heart and spoke softly. "Guide well, constellation gardener. Then she opened the lacquer box, took the silk net, and cast it into the air. It unfurled into gossamer and rose, catching moonshine, stitching itself among the heavens as a soft white seam. No snare now, but a bridge both fragile and strong between earth-longing and sky-mercy. Children in the village, seeing that faint band, named it the Weaver's Ribbon. They asked elders what it meant, and a grey-haired woman among them, her eyes clear, her voice steady, told them of jade carp that leap waterfalls of moonlight, of choices and shared years, of how even nets can become threads of light if guided by a generous hand. She told them that every guardian in the sky began as a yearning heart, and that somewhere within themselves lived a similar leap, waiting for courage. They listened wide-eyed, clutching reed lanterns. In their wonder, new stories were planted, and overhead the Jade Carp constellation shimmered contentedly, watching both mortal mistakes and mortal splendors with equal tenderness, forever reminding each who gazed upward that mercy, once offered freely, grows brighter than any stolen cure.